So I'm saying, so Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said that the Rambam did bring that Gemara, just you need the eyes to see it. The same thing is over here. What am I saying? What's Rabbeinu saying? He's saying over a Ramban. Yeah, of course he's saying over a Ramban, but you need the eyes to see the Ramban. And it's not enough just to read it and to go over it and to skim through it. You have to have the eyes to see the or that's in the Ramban. The Ramban says, what could you argue? The Ramban says that he left them to the mikra, and because of that, in this case, the Ma'atim won. What I would, yes, maybe think, be mefakpek a little bit, or be misbonen, let's better call it. What'll be, I'm asking Balabatish, what'll be if one person goes into an Arab village and he comes out alive? Is anybody going to say it's not a nes? I mean, we know stories that people went into our villages, Kama stories. There was somebody, Weisburg, I remember, by mistake. It was many years ago. But I remember he learned on Chevron by mistake. He lost his way and he drove in the Arab village, and his children became Yisomim and his wife Almona. And it's like Pashut that's what's going to happen. If somebody would come out alive. Besides, you're going between Rotzchim. It's not, there's no two ways. We're not talking about human beings over here. I want all them Smolanim in California to hear this. We're not talking about human beings over here.
What's a Smolanim?
Leftists.
Oh.
I want all the liberal leftists, especially in California, to hear this. When you talk about going into
your family or my family?
My wife's family and your family. When you talk about going into an Arab village, you're not talking about walking into a village of human beings. No. They do have two legs and they have a head with eyes in it, but you're not talking about human beings. No, Bishum Ofen not. So if somebody would come out alive from the will be a nes, I think it would. I don't think anybody would say it's not a nes on such a thing. You'll say, what? He could have, let's say he had a gun even. He could have started shooting and they'll all run away. I don't know. I don't know if you would say. I don't think even Rabbeinu Yoel would argue on that. Now, who says you can compare? If so there must be a certain shear when Rabbi Biad Matim is a nes and when it's a mikra. So how does he know that you can compare the Rabbi Biad Matim of that time, by the Bnei Yisrael and Binyamin, to the Rabbi Biad Matim of the 6-Day War? That I don't know. Especially, good. I don't know. I just don't know. Although, I mean, especially nowadays, how do you say neshek in English?
Ammunition.
Ammunition of nowadays that's so sophisticated. I mean, good, now I'm going back to the other side of Rabbeinu Yoel, that maybe Lolam, you can't ask. So I'm saying maybe my question is not a question because it doesn't go by numbers of people. But nowadays, it could be it doesn't go by numbers of people, it goes by ammunition. Who has the ammunition, who doesn't have. So who had, now I read in this book that's called The War Against the Jews, I think he brings over there, he says that the Arabs were very well equipped, armed, and the Jews weren't. Over all the... Okay, I don't know exactly what was over there. But what I'm trying to say is, Yeshli Zbonen, there is a place to think that the musag, the concept of Rabbi Biad Matim, it's not like a theoretical, abstract concept. It's something that you have to go down to the concrete, even though we yeshiva people, especially Lithuanians, so we always go with ideas, with abstract. We're not so, even when you learn Gemara about things, about objects, we're not so, about an animal, we're not so interested in the animal, we're more interested in the idea behind it. But over here, I don't know if you could do that. And here I think you might have to go down to the concrete, because there must be a certain number of ma'atim that it is considered a nes when you win. I don't know. There's place to think about it, but akopanim, whatever it is, it's very important to know this Ramban. Now, why is it? How do you understand the Ramban, Taka? I mean, you see that the Bnei Israel, when they went out to war against Binyamin, they could have asked everything they used to ask urim and tumin in those days. That was how that's how you do things of the tzibur things. And over here, why were they so sure of themselves? What, it was stam gaiva? Of course not. Because there is such a derech hateva that the rabbim win the war. I mean, you have to understand the other side also, the side of the Bnei Yisrael against Binyamin. It was because rabbim, api derech hateva, should win the war. So what's the pshat? The teva is that rabbim should win. But Inicham Lamikrim, the Ramban says that it's not mukhrach. It's not mukhrach, that's the pshat. Nes means to go against the mukhrach, against what has to be. Let's say, Shemesh, Chama, I would say Shemesh begivam dom, Yeshua, he stopped the sun in the sky. This is a mukhrach, the sun has to go up and go down and move the whole day. And if he stopped the sun in the sky, going against something that has to be, that's called Nes. But here, even though the poshet is seichel, the balabatish is seichel, the simple way of thinking is that the rabbim are going to win, but there is also a possibility that matim should win. Why? So the pshat is poshet. Because there's such a thing as tactics. There's svarim, ganzes svarim were written in the Goisha world about tactics, about war, about how to fight a war. In fact, Yeshua Man once gave me a pamphlet from some Chinese of 2,000 years ago that he wrote all kinds of kids, like slavda, like halachas, like you put when you have a river, put your soldiers with the river behind them. So then they don't have where to run away. So they have to fight.
It has to do with this week's Haftorah about devorah.
I
think so.
They ran, yeah. By the way, in this week's Haftorah, you see they didn't make, it doesn't say anything about planning, not a word. That they went up to Artova, giyus, that it says, to draft the army. They were megayes, b'nei Naftali, b'nei Zvulun. They went up to Artova, and they waited for the Isha Navia. She said, "Hello, Hashem, yatsa lefanecha. Hashem is going in front of you." Boom! They all ran, and they won the war. Planning, all these fancy words, tactics, strategy. Who cares about all that? I think you needed a number, Aseres Alofim. That was like you had 10,000 Jews. That was a certain. This is what I think. I don't know. Maybe it could be that Aseres Alofim is a certain Ashras Hashchina that has koach to win. You know. So I'm saying like this. The Ramban is saying that if you have good planning, apidarcha teva, there is such a thing. If you're a chacham, in the 6-day war, they talk according to what the books say. You don't really know because nobody was there, but they say that the first thing they went and they bombed all the planes, all the Egyptian planes, and then the Egyptians didn't have any air force. So then it was much easier to win the war. That's what they say. So what's a pshat? That's a chokhmah. Good, and how to do it is also a chokhmah. And so if you have this idea, first bomb their air force. It's not so easy to do it, but they had siyata d'shmayim, they did it. So then the ma'atim can also win. The same thing, even in those days when it was what they call primitive, there must have been chokhmah. You see this book from 2,000 years ago. There's a whole set of rules. When there's more chance to win or when not. So that's what made it that the ma'atim won. And that's a pshat, nicham l'mikrim. So what are they going and talking about nisim? This is not a nes, the Ramban says. Now, I can't understand how I heard certain people from what they call unzuri yidden, our Jews, that they said don't you know that Rabbeinu Yoel was nitfas leminus? My brother Meir, he heard it from a certain rabbi here in Imre Shefer. He said, don't you know he was nitfas leminus? What do you mean nitfas leminus? He sang a RAMBAN.